Hello everybody, it's Sunday, it's 9:04, coming to you live from South London. It's Wicked Women. Of course, it's Sunday, you've got to have Wicked Women. For some reason, everything froze and it just disappeared. All the entrance and everything has just frozen. So we just went back and did it again because that's what you do. How's everybody doing? Just bringing up the comments here. Hello, London, from London. Hello, Steve. Hello, Carlin. Hello, everybody joining us tonight on Wicked Women. And sometimes you don't join us tonight. Sometimes you join us in the morning or in a month's time or a year's time. Whenever you're joining us, welcome to Wicked Women. We have an interesting subject. It's always an interesting subject on Wicked Women, but we have a little bit of a girly subject tonight. We are looking at a few different areas in Wicked Women. You've probably seen some of the ones that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. There are some different topics that we've not covered before. So hope you'll find it enjoyable. Now, I do have a fellow Wicked with me tonight who's not been here for a little while. And there would have been a wonderful entrance, but for some reason, everything went kaput. So anyway, without fail, I shall bring in my lovely co-host for tonight, who's coming to me from a bit further up the country. Hello, sweetie.
Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm so sorry that your entrance disappeared like that.
You know, if it's got something to do with me, it's probably going to break. It's fine.
I mean, literally, I had them all down. And literally, I was like, well, see, it's a surprise now. See, not showing the intro. They didn't know who was coming in.
No.
We like to have a few surprises.
Absolutely.
Literally, I had them all up. There was the intro, there was everything. And it's just like gone, as we like to say over here, tits up. So it's all gone tits up. So it's all gone. But how are you, darling? It's been a while since I had you.
It has indeed been a while. Yes, no, I've been very good, very good. I have been doing a big career focus over the last few months. So I've been focusing in on getting back into my acting and doing that kind of thing. And I think partially, obviously, like the last 6 months, I think I've known you for 6 months now. Officially known you for 6 months.
Like a lifetime.
I know. Might be 8. Not sure. Not very good at maths. No, 8 months thinking about it. Yeah. Mm. But in that time, you've kind of pointed me in the right direction as to I should probably be doing something. And I know what it is that I want to do. So that's kind of where I've disappeared to over the last few months.
Well, I think I've always seen lots of potential in you. And I'm a great believer in encouraging someone. Although I don't want to encourage you too much because then I never see you. But literally, I'm really pleased that you're sort of finding your feet, because we all lose our way sometimes, and we all need a point. And I know that I'm desperately on that roundabout, like trying to find my way off it. Like somebody send a big sign, that somebody just send a big sign in, because we do lose our way, and it's not great. And having you on tonight is so nice, because first of all, we always work so well together, but also it's an all England. It's an all England thing.
Yeah.
And you would have seen had it shown up. I'll try and see if I can load it up. You would have seen the beautiful English bulldog intro for Sparky. Never mind, you'll just have to come back. So tonight, I do have the pictures on here. They at least have come through. And we're talking tonight about the sin of being female. And, we at Wicked Women, we've never sort of done the whole political thing, because we like to leave it open so that everybody feels welcome and they don't feel persecuted for their beliefs. And we still are. But what remains important is that we were a podcast for women by women. And sometimes we have to get back into that, this is for the women out there. We do it for lots of other things, but tonight is about the women. And I'll put my glasses on. And I think that there's been so much in the news lately. You've seen, some real horror stories, especially with the gang rapes and stuff like that, which, you know, people say, well, you don't mention the word and everything on YouTube. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. That's what women are going through. I think it's very important that we look at the fact that women in 2026 are still feeling very persecuted. I'm going to bring up a little picture here. Over the years, every generation, every battle, same fight. And if you look at some of our grandmothers and great grandmothers, you know, their struggle, we're still carrying, a lot of us are still carrying in the trauma and the struggle of what they started.
No, completely.
And then we go into like the present day, like, you know, back in 2026, where we write our own history now, you know, but no, we don't, because we're still struggling, because there's, you know, and I've got some notes here, which I like to write, because that way then I know what I'm saying.
Indeed.
You know, women from time began, and I want to go back to the Garden of Eden with Eve. She was a naughty girl. Like, she was down, it's all her fault.
Well, so it was reported that it was all her fault.
Yes. She liked the taste of an apple.
Indeed.
And offered it
Apparently
to her.
so.
And she was corrupted by Satan. And I think even then, even right back then, but hang on a minute, none of us were alive back then. None of us knew what actually happened. And so when I read that and I listen to that, I think,
I think sorry to interrupt quickly. I think what's interesting as well with the whole Adam and Eve, the apple, so on. If Eve was the one who ate the apple, then why do men have an Adam's apple?
True. Good point. Good point. You've got to there, didn't it, to remind them. I think there's always been a story told over the years about women, sometimes in books, sometimes in culture, sometimes in beliefs. And it's a story that being female comes with something attached to it, something that needs to be perhaps controlled or managed or corrected. And over continents, over the years, over different societies, over different religions, it seems that, you know, we're either too loud, too quiet, too powerful, too weak, too masculine, too feminine. You know, there's always a contradiction. And I want to bring up some of the women from history who actually turned around and said, no, that's not true. Let's look at one of the first one. And we will be doing a future show on this amazing lady. Let me just bring in the comments as well, that people can push up. Let me just bring this in. They're going to come on the stage. There we are, down there. Boadicea. I mean, she was, you know, if you go to London, you'll see the statue of her with her two daughters in a chariot. And I would suggest anyone who doesn't know about Boadicea or Boudica, as she's now pronounced, I would just suggest everyone go and check her out. But she was a tribal queen of England, and the Romans came over and she stood up against them, and she was flogged, and her daughters were violated by the Romans. And she rose up to be one of the most powerful queens at that time, you know, England and the world had ever known. And she was seen as a leader, more than men were. I mean, here was a woman taking control of an army, a huge army, and saying, and let me tell you, Boudica took no prisoners. In fact, I actually can't wait to do the podcast on her, because actually, if you were a traitor and you were a woman, she would cut off your breast and stick it in your mouth and stitch it into your mouth.
Wow.
I mean, this woman.
That doesn't tell you what you need to know about that, then God.
Wow. She took no prisoners. I mean, she was like, I don't care who you are. If you have been involved in the Romans and you're against us, we're going to take you down. So she was very much feared. And also she reached a point where silence was no longer possible. She had seen people being violated and murdered, and their lands and their everything taken from them, losing their identity. And she stood up and said, no, this is not happening anymore. And for a woman to do it back then, I mean, we're talking pagan, druid, very, very different women that just you wouldn't want to argue with on a dark alley, that's for sure, would you?
Absolutely. And that's one of the main things that I love about the pagan times, or as we would call it. So obviously we still do have pagans around, but at that time, to be feared was to be respected.
Yeah.
At that time, because it was one of those where you don't cross her, otherwise she'll hex you. She put a spell on you. She'll do something. So just having that. But again, why would we need to have a veil of a threat in order to be respected?
Unfortunately, yes, you've got a good point there. Because let's bring up this picture going down the times after that. Obviously, you have the witch trials where women have been persecuted, and they began, there were so many women that were persecuted and tortured and executed for being a woman, for being accused of witch. And Val and I covered that the witch trials. But it's like, throughout the years, throughout the ages, women have been persecuted. We have been tortured. We've been told to shut up. We have been controlled. We have been, whether it's a religion, a culture, your husband, your family, society, whatever, we have been told to zip it. And, we're just highlighting some of these things because it seems to be a woman some days is a sin. It's like, women, without being horrible, certainly not we love men. We're not saying anything about that, but it's like, it seems that in 2026, women are still struggling to have their voice heard, to earn equal with financial, with work, to be seen on an equal footing. And certainly in some cultures, some women are still fighting to be seen and heard.
Completely. And it's one of those mad things where if you just sit and think about it, for me, I always think, okay, so when did it change that we weren't the ones in charge anymore? Because if you look at the way that society works, if it works through a matriarchy, then it tends to work better. I don't know if I'm biased because I absolutely loved the Queen. And when 100%. Charles came in, suddenly it felt like the world changed.
Yeah.
It was like that woman of power has disappeared. And now there are other people who can come in with ideals, for example, which aren't great for the whole of the human race.
Yeah.
And it drives me mad a little bit because, I mean, again, I don't know if it's just because for me growing up as a military kid, it was always the Queen is the head of the military and she has the utmost respect, end of. Obviously now it's Charles. Fine. But it just feels so different. And it's almost like that person with the respect, she's gone, which means the respect that we would have is also gone.
I agree with you because we all grew up with the Queen because she was here for so many, so many decades, and she was like the grandmother of the country, the Commonwealth, etc. And she had a wonderful thing, which is don't explain, don't complain. And Charles, as we know, has always liked a little bit of a whinge and a little bit of a chat. And now he's king, can't do that. he can't do that. And it feels like the energy, the Queen was the head of the Church of England. She was the defender. And when you say this is a big deal, because if you go back to Henry VIII's time, and when he split with the Catholic Church to go into the Protestant Church, he became defender of the faith. He was the head of the Church of England. So the monarch is the head. And she was, and you know that she had a Christian faith, and she believed in it, and she was always at the churches. And with Prince Charles, it's not King Charles. Now, I keep saying Prince Charles. It's not the same, Sparky, because like literally, he's got to a point where you just kind of look at him and you're like, yeah, I think I don't see him in the role as monarch. I don't see him as a monarch. I have never identified with him as that's my king. And with the Queen, it was like, she was our Queen. I think he's letting down the Commonwealth quite a lot, and he's losing our identity. And I believe he said something about the defender of faith. I did watch a podcast, very interestingly, going off subject here, but we do like a few juicy tidbits here. But I did watch a podcast recently, and someone said that King Charles has been, I don't know if the word is corrupted, but because actually he's quite drawn to being a Muslim. If he is, he is. But the problem is with that, he's the head of the Church of England, and so he has gone down another route. He has to abdicate and give that to William to do it. And I think, and I know it sounds horrible and nice to say, but I think most of the country and Commonwealth is waiting for King William to take over the throne. And I think when he does, you will see a lot of things go back to being a lot more traditional. Do you get that feeling?
Absolutely. Definitely. I feel like I don't know why it's not as it should be, because Charles was brought up by Elizabeth. That's the point. So why did it skip a generation? What's happened? And then of course with William, he obviously had Diana. And what I loved about Diana is the fact that she loved everyone. And I have a very similar feeling where I love everyone. I think everyone is fantastic and everyone should be given a chance and an opportunity, But I feel like I also have this funny feeling where I don't think Charles actually expected to outlive his mother.
No. And all of a sudden it was like, oops.
I think we were all surprised.
We were. I mean, I think we were all praying, actually. There's my OBE or whatever gone out the window. But literally, I think we were all like praying that the Queen would not, because there's something about Charles which is just not, and I don't know about you, but I think the country feels different. The country hasn't got its identity. The Queen was the identity. She was this powerful mother, grandmother. She was very big on keeping the Commonwealth, and very proud to be a part of it. The military was incredible. When do you ever see Charles with the military anymore? You don't see him doing anything.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't really see, and I do see the news. I'm not someone who sits down and watches the news every day at the set time. But the difference I find is I don't see him being reported as doing things. No. Whereas with the Queen, she was, and it was okay, so this has happened today. But it's almost like he's delegating to other people. But it's just, he's not, it doesn't feel like he's being a king, what I would define as to be a king.
You're absolutely right. And because we know he's had cancer. And so obviously, but now he's about to go to America and do a tour with Queen Camilla. But I think let's go back to Diana, because she's one of the women that made a difference. She did everything differently when she came along. And I do believe she was meant to come along, because she's changed things for so many her sons. I mean, I think William will be the most awesome king because of what he saw those 15 years of his life. And she didn't lead through power or politics, but through humanity. She touched the unattouchable. I remember when she went into that AIDS ward and where everybody was scared, and she was like touching babies and people, and she was like, I don't care. And she sat with the people that were forgotten, and she showed emotion when there was so much distance in the royal family. Because up to Diana, I think there was very much this, you're there, but we're here.
That separation, yeah.
And she broke the image of what a royal woman in her position was meant to be. And I think she paved the way for someone like, we dare not mention the word Fergie, but, Catherine, absolutely.
Oh, completely.
Because, I mean, most of us watched Fergie like this, right? Oh, my God. And obviously, Meghan Markle. But I do, another woman I want to bring in as well that changed things going back a bit is obviously Elizabeth I, namesake.
Indeed.
She ruled, I mean, let's be honest, that woman kicked ass. It was seen as the golden era, the golden age of ruling England. And she never married. And I think one of the reasons she never married is because she knew if she married, she would have to give a lot of her power away to the husband, although she would be monarch, like her sister did when she married Philip of Spain. And she stood alone, commanding a nation, outsmarting enemies, and proving that authority did not come in a male body, to be real. And I look back at Elizabeth I and Elizabeth II, these great women with the same name, that you only have to mention Elizabeth and people go, oh, like one or two, because they were phenomenal women for their time.
Yeah, I think what's quite funny as well, like as you were just saying about Elizabeth's, I would imagine that Elizabeth II would have had this thought in the back of her mind of, okay, I should probably kick ass because I was named after Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So I need to make sure that I'm pulling my weight and I'm doing my bit. And as you were saying about never marrying because of handing the reins or handing power across, I think it just shows as well how incredible that actually is, because Queen Elizabeth I was the queen, and if she got married, it would have been king consort, not king. It's like at the moment, Camilla is queen consort, but everyone calls her the queen, and I sit here and I go, she's not the queen. She's not the queen.
Take that word out of it. And I think women from our generation probably do always think that there should be a Queen Diana. And I do believe, and I've said this before, when William comes to the throne, I think he will put back on his honour that his mother has lost. And I think Elizabeth, can you imagine being pressurised by all those men? You've got to marry, you've got to have a child, and we're putting all these suitors in front of you, and why don't you want to marry them? And she played them incredibly well to survive that long. Because also
I understand how she feels.
Well, yeah, but also women died in childbirth. There was such fatality in childbirth back then. I would have been scared shitless to get pregnant.
I still am.
Yeah.
Personally. Personally, that's terrifying to me, but yeah.
I've gone past that bridge now. It's gone. But when in 1977, a real dynamo came into this country and paved the way for a lot of women in politics.
Yeah.
And that was Margaret Thatcher. Now, Maggie, I can't talk about Margaret Thatcher without thinking about spitting image puppets.
Yeah.
And her relationship with Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev. But she was a powerhouse. She changed things in this country. We've had 3 female prime ministers. The other 2 didn't do as well, but but she did well. And she did not sit quietly. She went, nope, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do my own thing. And she was unstoppable. In fact, her and the Queen, they used to say that, Maggie was up here and the Queen was kind of down here. And there was a little bit of rivalry between them. But whether you loved or hated her, she's undeniable.
Absolutely. Like, you think of Maggie Thatcher and you think of power, which is incredible. To have that without the aggression as well. It's not aggressive power.
No.
With Maggie Thatcher, it was, if she says that she's going to do something, she ain't going to fuck around, No,
certainly as the miners found out. But I think also with Maggie is that I'm amazed. She would stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning writing and doing speeches. She would survive on a few hours sleep, and she would get up every morning and make breakfast for her husband and her children. And then, go to work. I mean, this woman, the lady's not for turning. If she was prime minister today, this country would be she would be kicking ass everywhere. There would be severe kickings going on. And there's so many women growing up, because when I was growing up, like, it seemed to be a male populated world. And as a young girl, there wasn't many role models for us to look at and go, I want to be like that. And the way these women that we've just mentioned, they stand up because they change things. And they're not alone, because for every name remembered, there are countless women who are not being recorded, whose names are not being celebrated or even acknowledged, who are still trying to make a difference today and not getting, the acknowledgement that they are. There are thousands. I mean, let's just bring up about the witch trials. I'm just looking at my notes here, where it says, where if you were a woman back in the, medieval times and you were accused of being a witch, simply because you were a woman, or you had a mark on you, or a man found you attractive and you didn't want to go there, and the next thing you know, she bewitched me. There is a terrible, terrible ending. And women who lived alone, especially.
Oh, yeah, the spinsters, as they would call us.
Yes. Hello.
I also find as well, like, if we look at the witch trials, there would be the accusation, and I mean, Monty Python makes a very good joke of it, of, she's a witch, we'll drown her then. But what if she's not a witch? Well, how do we know she's not a witch? Because she won't float. I can't remember the exact words, but that's in essence, obviously, of what it is. And you have this moment afterwards where they just go, oh, well, guess we were wrong, and that's it. That was the end of it. And you just think that, unfortunately, is horrifically true, because that is what it would have been like.
If she didn't drown, she was definitely a witch. So then we're just
so then we burn her at the stake instead.
Burn her or hang her. And women who lived alone, who had knowledge of herbs, I mean, or were who spoke out, or was, I know something that could help with that, or women who didn't fit the mold were persecuted, tortured, and killed, not for crimes, but for being, different, for seeing very, very different. And I think it's still the same today. Today, Sparky, women are not, thank God, not so much burnt at the stake anymore, but they're still judged and limited and navigating a world that questions their place. For instance, safety, we have to look at that. I mean, in this country alone, I'll bring up my notes in a minute about that, but this country alone has got a terrible reputation of women and safety. And I don't think it has been taken at all seriously. It's been going on I mean, they said 50 years, but it's been going on a lot longer.
Yeah.
A lot longer than that.
I mean, Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. But I think let's be honest. I mean, they still don't know what's causing that. I'm just bringing up my notes about how many women alone. Because if you think about, I don't know about you, but this country's changed. When I go out at night, I used to go out at night, get in the car. Yeah, it was dark, but I wasn't really sort of worried too much. When I go out now, I'm checking behind me. I'm feeling a little bit more nervous because there seems to be a feeling in this country that women, especially, we seem to be more vulnerable now, and it's like I am worried because for my nieces that are coming up behind me, and etc. It's like, when I was younger, I'd go to the nightclub at the top of the road from where I live, and I'd walk home at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I wouldn't think anything of it. When I was in Calgary, my ex-husband worked here, and I sort of worked about 6 or 7 minutes away, and I'd have to walk home. In the dark, sometimes late on my own, whatever. Never thought any of it. Wouldn't do it now. Wouldn't do it.
I think I have a similar feeling, but at the same time, I've always had this feeling as such. So obviously I grew up in the army. It's a very protected society. Came back to the UK, and I think for the first few years of being over here, I was looking over my shoulder continuously.
Yeah.
And then, call it silly or not, I do walk home late at night. I obviously won't have both headphones in because I have to make sure as to who is around me and things like that. A prime example is I walked 20 minutes back at 1 o'clock in the morning, this morning, technically, down an area where I probably shouldn't. But it's one of those where I've walked down there so many times, my brain's like, I'll be fine. But it's obviously the waiting for that one time where it's not fine.
Yeah.
And I think because I've always had that sense of needing to look over my shoulder, I've never not had that. So for me, that's just completely normal. Whereas obviously you say that it's not normal for you.
Yeah, definitely it's changed. Definitely. I think, you obviously know where I live, and there's shops near me, and there's an alleyway, and there's a lot of people that hang around there. I mean, as I said, I've been here for some years now, and I used to feel I used to go out and, think twice of coming in the dark, but now it's very much watching this. In the United Kingdom alone, millions of women are affected by violence every single year. Around 3.2 million women annually experience domestic abuse, sexual assault, stalking, and let me just say even worse than that. It's not rare, it's not isolated, it's a pattern. When you break that down, it becomes even harder to ignore. Tens of thousands of women every single week, women navigating fear, control, coercion, and violence are part of their daily life. This is, and it's not reported because it's not on mainstream. Let's not talk about that. It's not happening. It is happening. And you don't hear much about domestic violence anymore. They don't talk about domestic violence, what's going on. They don't talk about, there was, if something happens in your area, you might see it on social media, but you're not seeing people talk about it on the media. And it's got to a point where you're like, why are they not talking about it? Right?
I think partially as well is because with the way that the world is right now, and this is one of the reasons why I don't watch the news, is because there's no positive news. You read the news, it's all negative.
Yeah.
Why is it just all negative? Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with you. And obviously you were saying, you were saying about the obviously, what is it, 3.2 million reported
a year.
Probably add another 3 million not reported. Wait, are there around 6 to 7 million women in the UK?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it?
And it is. I mean, as a counsellor, I worked in domestic violence and rape suites. And, you know, some people say you shouldn't say that, but I think it's a word that you need to use, because at the end of the day, it is what is happening. And, you know, we're not lying. You know, and I think the thing about England and Wales is that violence against women and girls makes up around 20% of all recorded crime. So, right, not the recorded, but 20% across England and Wales, violence against women and girls. And that's just what's reported, because most of it, as you quite rightly said, Sparky, isn't. One in 3 women will experience violence in their lifetime. Around 2 million women a year, 2 million women a year are estimated to be victims of male violence, and even that is considered an underestimate. I mean, that is just shocking.
And Carleen is she's got it dead right, saying that we don't talk about it much anymore because the powers that be have made it clear that if we do say anything, then they're not going to believe us anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's so true, because you can go and report it, but I understand in one aspect where you do need proof, you need evidence. I get that. But also the number of times where you report something, and depending on who you report it to, oh, I know that's my mate, he wouldn't do anything like that. So,
but also, it's like, I'm not sure that, I mean, I've known men that have been accused of it and weren't, and I've known, you know, I've had women that have been accused of it and not. I think it's very easy to generalize, but the thing is, I don't know about you, I was in a abusive relationship, like yourself, and years ago, and I didn't talk about it because it couldn't possibly happen to me. I didn't want other people to know, and you kept it quiet, especially from my generation. You know, we kept it quiet. We didn't really talk about it because you know, it was just you know, it was not there.
Do you find as well sometimes that with certain generations, it's you don't mention it because it's supposedly normal?
There was a lot of that growing up. I think people, women and relationships and men were very, very different. And, you know, you know, we all joke about, oh, give him a slap or whatever. We all make comments like that. But I think we're talking about different violence altogether. Yes. And it's like in London, let's just look at London alone. Women are working, living, moving through it every day. And the crimes in London now alone is horrific. Let's move over over the lovely pond to the United States. Hundreds of thousands of women are assaulted every year. In Canada, the pattern repeats. Women are disproportionately affected by violence, particularly within domestic settings. And although the scale can change, culture might shift, it's still the same. Women are still being targeted, not being believed, not taken seriously, especially if they're in a culture where they're not respected by their men. And so if it's happening to them, it's like, shut up, this is the culture. This is, you know, this is not, you haven't got a say. And I think what I think about is the young girls growing up now, seeing their mum or their sisters having said things happen done to them, and thinking, oh my God, have I got to go down that road?
Is this something for me to look forward to in the future?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you know, as I said, we're just speaking very openly here, but, you know, in the old days, in medieval, girls were married at 12, right? They might have been betrothed at 6, but they were married at 12. And they wouldn't get involved physically till 14 when they'd have a child. And in some cultures and in some countries, there are girls of 12 getting married and having babies.
It's that horrific purity aspect of it. I hate it. Yes. Obviously.
100%. And
Yeah.
it's got to a point where it's like, I don't think that's very attractive. I'd want a young girl as a wife, personally, but there you go.
Yeah.
But I think we have to call it out, and I think there's a time to be politically correct, and there's a time to actually say, no, this is wrong. You know, these are young girls. You have got to call it out, and it is what it is. It's abuse. It's just not on. It's really not on. But I think also as well that there's a pushback. There is I mean, do you remember the MeToo that came out a couple of years ago? The lovely Rose McGowan, who, God bless her, came out and said about Harvey Weinstein and the casting couch in Hollywood.
Oh God.
Which is notorious, right?
Yeah. Yeah, completely. And that's the thing, that it's one of those where I'm trying to think of the right words for it, but the veil of threat of violence over, don't you say anything, because I can ruin you, which is exactly what the Harvey Weinstein thing was. Absolutely. I can ruin you if you mention this to anyone. And then all of a sudden, obviously, when Me Too came out, so many other people have had exactly the same experience. But because of the belittling and the psychological abuse that comes with it, that makes you feel like you are alone in what is happening to you. It's the isolation, and that's how they're able to do it. And that was how Harvey Weinstein was able to do it.
I mean, I remember seeing an Oscars, and they were like, God, thank you, God. And that would be Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
This was a guy who was just taking absolute advantage of women and picking them out and choosing them, just like Muhammad Fayed, you know, people say about him. And it's like, no one has the power to do that. No one should have the right to do that. And I can't even imagine how those poor women, but it was going on. I mean, I remember reading a story about Joan Collins, who said that she was at a party and she met Marilyn Monroe, and they said to her, be careful of the casting couch, because a lot of them will try and get you on there. And Joan Collins said, luckily she didn't nothing like that actually happened to her, but on some of them it did. So it just seems to me that as women, it seems it's okay to do it, because it's like, we're women, and if you want the job, you're going to have to earn it, girl, you know, or you're going to have to make me see why you're the best for the job. And here's a little thing which I still drives me mad about dating. You're on the dating site, or you're dating someone, and they go, what are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for me? And it's just like, what?
Yeah. So I have to earn your affection? I can't just exist and receive affection. I have to specifically earn it. That's what it is, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think let's look at it, you know, going way back in time, you know, because we're in 2026 and it's flying past. This life is flying past, and yet we live in a country which is stunted and restricted, and it doesn't feel like our country anymore. It feels like women are still fighting for their identity of what are we, who are we, you know, where is our place now, to even getting a job. You've got so many people of different sexualities and different nationalities and everything going. It used to be just women against men. Now it's a whole new ball game, and women are feeling, I think there's a lot of women saying, we actually don't know where we stand anymore in this. What is our role? What is, you know, who are we? And I think because the women that push against it are seen to be out there and too much of this, and I think at the same time, since time began, Sparky, we have always had to fight against what is our identity, or seem to be our identity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And obviously we've had a similar discussion in the past in regards to, for me, obviously I don't feel like I identify fully as a woman, which is why I have this non-binary aspect. So for me, mine is I just want to exist. I just want to live. I believe that everyone should have equal opportunity, but actually equal, not. I don't want anyone to have a leg up on anyone else, because that to me is not how life should be. We all exist at the same time on the same planet.
100%.
And for us to even exist, for each individual being to be here, the odds of it are insane. We could all be completely different if the world was on a different tilt, for example. And it kind of, for me, I've obviously got this thing in my head of I just want us all to be friends and get along, you know. It's not gonna happen.
Easy, girl.
I know, but that's what confuses me though, because if I have this mind that says everyone should have opportunity, and why did I end up with that mind? Is it because of what I saw when I was growing up, or
what changed in you to make you feel like I don't see myself just as a woman now?
I don't think it's ever been something that has changed. I think I genuinely feel like I've always been like this, because when I was a kid, I was one of those where just to really break it down, I'd be the kid who'd go out and climb trees and ride dirt bikes everywhere and just do that kind of thing, right? And I remember being on a push bike, going past a group of 4 or 5 girls who were sat on the floor making daisy chains, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. I have no idea what it is, because I've never experienced that. So I went and I sat with them and I was like, okay, what is this? I was rubbish. I was not very good at making daisy chains. I've never been very good with that. And I was like, cool, that's fun, but I would prefer to go and climb this tree. So I'll see you later, kind of thing. And I've always been someone who gets along. Like when I was at school, my friend group was a group of lads. And every so often I would meet someone who I would get along with who wasn't part of that group of lads, if that makes sense. Like, it's, I don't know, for me, I never had this light bulb moment of, oh, okay, so there was no change. I've always been exactly the same. I've always walked with, I guess, a little bit of swagger instead of walking as someone would expect me to walk, I guess.
Well, I think we've all got the masculine and the feminine in us. Yeah. I remember, I agree with you. I didn't feel when I was growing up, I didn't really feel like I was this feminine girl, you know. I was tall, one of the tallest in my school. I used to like kind of hang down. I'd grow a fringe across my eyes so I never had to look anybody in the eyes through my fringe. It's still something I have today. And it's like, I remember feeling not feminine, not attractive. All the other girls were much more sexy and feminine and everything. And literally I wasn't, you know, I wasn't girly girl. And then, you know, as times change, started to find my feet. But it wasn't really till I got into my 40s that I actually became comfortable, as in, yeah, you know, this is me. This is how I am. I do have that masculine side to me, which I think we either have you know, which one is predominantly more stronger, the masculine or feminine. But I also think as well that women, and this is going to sound weird, but I think women are more turning to the masculine side of things to actually, because they but it's all about like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. They've got to, you know, they've had to be strong. They've had to take care of everything. And you can't always, you know, go out looking glamorous with your heels on and your makeup on. You know, you've got kids screaming and you've got to pay the bills and you've got to get to work and everything like that. There's the, you know, in the 50s, very much in the 1950s, it was like women had to look good. They had the dinner on the table when the husband came home. They had the 3 kids, and you know, they had to look so great. And I think over the years we're trying to find our feet still. We're really trying to find our feet and our roles.
I think it might also have something to do with self-preservation as well. Because there are days where I think I am not going to put in any effort today whatsoever because I don't want anyone to even look at me.
Yeah, so
even once, let alone twice.
Yeah.
So I think that also probably comes into it as well, where you kind of have to make yourself look undesirable in order to be protected for just for yourself, I guess.
And I think it's important to mention this as well, because as I said, we are not a political podcast, but there are certain things that we will bring up and talk about. And as you said, we're very open to everyone to come in and join us. But it's like, you know, in today's world, conversation where gender is very much shifted. You know, I mean, it's a big conversation now. And the understanding that we have now of gender has completely changed and expanded to what we had so many years ago. And there's another podcast I want to do about, you know, how someone was born with both set of genitals and they had to choose male or female. And then, you know, that's a whole new podcast, but a very interesting one to do nonetheless. And for many people, this whole world and conversation has created space, recognition, and, you know, a whole different way of belief. But it's also created questions because there is a difference between identity and lived experience, and that's very important to actually have that, because as a woman, as in born a woman, with, you know, and it's not an easy life, let me tell you. Like the whole hormone and periods and going for your first bra and it's horrible. I mean, it is not good. And I don't know about you, but that dragging pain in my stomach and back, and having to sit throughout school going, and the teacher going, "What's wrong with you?" And you're just you know, living that is very different than identifying with it, because until you've had that experience, you can't say that you've lived it. You can only say that I identify it. So with today, and there's some, you know, I've got people I know myself who are becoming or have become a trans woman, and they identify deeply and sincerely as a woman. Of course they do. But I still say to them, but you have no way know what a period's like. You will never know what it's like to have a period and sit on a, you know, without going into graphic detail, but be sitting on a loo and taking painkillers and hot water bottles and screwing your body up and literally hot, you know, in agony. You'll never understand what that's like. And that is, and we have periods so that we have children, so that we can have a baby. That's the whole reason why we have the whole reproductive system as a woman, to have a child. That was what we were so long, you know, born and etc. But now things have changed. You know, women don't want children. They don't want to have babies. And so we still have to go through all the pain and all the suffering, but without any goods at the end.
Yeah, but at the same time, you say the goods at the end. A child to me is not a good.
Yeah.
That is an oh dear.
Yeah.
And an interesting thing as well, because you were saying about the identification of male and female and so on, that also is not a new thing. If we look back at ancient times before the Bible, there were people who would identify as one or t'other, whether it was their birth or not. And then obviously you had intersex. You still have, it's all of these new things are not new.
No,
And
because they've been out for years.
But due to, I'm not bad-mouthing religions, but due to religions, control, the desire to be able to control other people around you, that is where it all of a sudden started to become an issue. So, and it's only obviously within the last reportable years, we'll say, that all of a sudden it seems to be more of an issue, because it's always been there. But it was one of those where people were told, you are wrong, you are incorrect, you should not exist within society. You would have babies who were born intersex, who would not be allowed to live their lives. So their lives would be taken from them because the parents wouldn't know what to do with them. And the idea of just letting them live their lives, because of the way that society has been for a long time, where people are so interested in what other people think of them, more so than just living their lives. I think, personally, if everyone just lived their own life and didn't bother about what other people were doing, what other people have in their pants or whatever like that, we would have such a fantastic time, because we could all just live and have fun instead of continuously looking at each other and just the judgment. And that's the main thing it comes down to, is judgment, which again, if I link back to religion, is hilarious, because there is only one person technically within Christianity who is allowed to judge.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's very interesting that you bring up, because you only have to look back into, yet again, medieval history, and women were not allowed on the stage to produce a play in Shakespeare and etc. So they would have guys.
Unless the 1600s. That's only 400 years ago.
They would have guys playing the role of women as well. I mean, one show I've always wanted to do is about Nero, because Nero is an absolute, I mean, he was supposed to be one of the most evil men ever, but he actually married a boy who looked like his dead wife. And I mean, it's crazy.
That's a big suitcase to unpack. Wow.
Absolutely. And I've been reading up on him lately, thinking, wow. But I think what we're trying to look at with women, the struggle of women has never been about how we identify as women. It's been about how we've been treated as women. And, all of I tend to believe, and we are, when we're born on this planet, we're either born a boy or girl. I mean, there is only two sexes, there's boy or girl. That doesn't mean that just because you're born a boy or born a girl, you have to stay that. If you feel like you're drawn to something else and you want to be something else, absolutely. But from a biology point of view, from a makeup, DNA, and etc., there are the two sexes. I mean, I wish we were all like, what's that horse that in the sea? Seahorse. Life would be a lot more easier. But it's like,
I'd love to be a seahorse.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know about you, but when I grew up, I didn't really feel like I wanted to be a woman. I didn't feel very feminine at all. I didn't feel, I saw what women went through and I was like, I don't want any of that. I don't want to be involved in that. And, when sex is first described to you as a woman, you're kind of like, what? You don't want any of that going near you,
because at that point it's invasion.
Yes, and I don't know about you, but I was kind of told about rabbits and the birds and the bees.
And the bees.
I wasn't actually given the diagrams of this is what really happens between a man and a woman, when they want babies. So I think, absolutely. I think that, you're right. If we could all get on, but that's not human nature. We'll never be like that, because human beings have the power to destroy themselves and each other.
Well, we're doing that rather rapidly. We're doing very well at that.
Yeah, they are. I mean, and the thing as well, which is, it's kind of sad, and as I said, normally we don't really talk about stuff like this, but we can't ignore some of the stuff that's going on in today's world. And you in some cultures, homosexuality is absolutely not allowed. They will stone you. They will they'll do all kinds of terrible things, and have done over the years. And yet, like you said, homosexuality was always there. It was there in Roman times.
Also, animals can be homosexual. Any kind of creature. Basset hounds can be gay.
Because he seems to want to, interspecies with the cat. But yeah, I think you can. I'm not saying the dog actually turns around and says, I identify, but you can just tell,
But also, he doesn't have a concept of identification at that point.
No. But
whereas we do,
Yeah, we do. And the thing is, I wasn't told as a woman. I wasn't, because I grew up in the 70s and 80s, very, very different world, very different times. Probably one of the best times to be alive. I'm not going to lie. The 80s
yes.
and late 70s, 80s to early 90s was fantastic. Generation X are awesome. And we carry. There's a great podcast I want to do about that called the grieving of Generation X, because we look at the generations coming up behind us and we're like, what the hell
is going on? Yep, and I'm with you.
Yeah, what the hell? So and one thing I would say is that as a woman growing up, it was a girl. It was kind of like, it was always the good-looking women that got the guys. They had great figures, and they were just so good-looking and sexy. And but I wasn't like that. I was tall and kind of awkward and kind of like, yeah. I had loads of friends who were boys, but none of them wanted to date me. And it took me years to be sexy. I don't know about you, but it took me years.
Yeah. I have a very similar respect, because, like I said, I drink more beer. Yeah, I like that rapid. I have a very, very similar thing where even now, I mean, obviously with me, I'm bi, so people say that I'm greedy, right? People say I'm greedy. I have zero success on both ends of the scale. So I don't know how I can be greedy at that point.
Yeah.
But I have a very similar thing where I'm like, I don't feel sexy. There are days where I'm like, sweet, everything has gone correct. My hair's good. This, that, and the other. But it just, I don't know. For me, and of course, I'm very much a personality kind of person anyway. So, but I also don't know if that comes through because I have not been seen as attractive for most of my life, I guess.
Really?
So, oh God, yeah. That's the feeling I get anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I do have that very similar aspect.
I mean, that's right. I mean, even now, I fiddle a lot with my fringe. I always did, because when I was young, I'd have a long fringe. I wasn't sexy. I wasn't one of the hip crowd, and I would just stand there, with long fringe down, Princess Diana, like completely, with the eye just popping up, and I literally, I didn't feel attractive.
No. Which that blows my mind. That blows my mind that you would have that.
I can bring pictures of one day and you can very different. And it was like, I think for years I tolerated certain behavior towards me because I was like, there was this feeling of like, well, you know, that's
I
what
don't
you
deserve
do.
any more than this.
100%, you know, this is what you do. And then something along the line crossed over in me. Maybe I got more in touch with my masculine side, I don't know. But literally, I just thought, fuck this shit. I'm not doing that anymore. And I literally changed, and I became me, you know, and you know, and I was saying to my sister today, I don't care what people think, because at the end of the day, I spent the first 20 years of 20, maybe 30 years of my life wasting precious, wonderful
Energy.
time on this earth and energy, worrying about what someone thought about me and how they thought about, oh, you know, you're too fat, you're too thin, your boobs aren't right, you know, etc., etc., and put up with shitty behavior from men and thought, well, you know, he loves me really deep down. And, you know, looking back now, I want to go back and just get hold of myself and drag her out of there now and say, like, if you could see where you're going to be. But I think, you know, certainly from the generation we came from, it very much is a very, very different world today. And looking at some of the women, because I just want to bring up, I have lots of different notes here, but I want to bring up some of the women that have made a difference to this world. Obviously, we talked about Boudica. Joan of Arc, obviously, quite a famous lady. Sadly ended up being burnt for standing. I mean, she stepped into a man's world, led armies, changed the course of a war in history, and she was burnt for it. And then the church turned around and said, "We'll martyr her for that because we were wrong." Obviously, we talked about Elizabeth I, and we must talk, and this is the point that I know you wanted to bring up, we must talk about Emmeline Pankhurst, who refused to be ignored, forced a nation to confront the fact that women's voices mattered. She wasn't polite about it, she wasn't quiet, and that's exactly why she was effective. And the point you wanted to bring up was about voting.
Yes, the fact that obviously in the UK we have a vote coming up very shortly on the 7th of May, and it's one of those things where it's a passing comment and so on, where it's like, okay, so this is happening, who are you voting for? And then you have a discussion. What drives me insane is when people say, I don't know, I'm not going to do any research, and I'm not going to vote.
Or I'll do it on the day.
Yeah, right. And the point is, not too long ago, women didn't have the right to vote. So the fact that there are so many women who refuse to vote, and even also, like, I'll go back to in the US, obviously with the latest presidential voting. So many words going in my head right now. And there were certain people who just refused to vote. And it does happen everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere that women are allowed to vote, because there are still places where women aren't allowed to vote. And the fact that these people are willing to waste their vote in something which is so significant to us. Because not only do we now have the right to vote, but we have the right to almost request certain things for ourselves through voting. And that obviously there are those within politics certain politicians who do not have women's rights at the forefront of their mind, who would much prefer to go back to women are not allowed to divorce their husbands. Women are not allowed to have a voice. We don't want women in the Houses of Parliament. And the fact that that is still a thing, and there are still men who are voting, and voting in a tactical way in order to try and shut the door in our faces. Because either way, doesn't matter how I identify, society obviously sees me as a woman.
As a woman.
And with that, if women's rights go backwards, my rights go backwards. And I'm not just thinking for myself either. I'm thinking for the other women around me. I don't want to get to a point where we end up back in the Dark Ages because we've let certain men take over.
We must never allow that to happen. And I think we also must, there are, and I choose my word carefully here. Mm-hmm. There are certain, so hard, isn't it?
I know.
In our country right now, we have lost our identity in so many ways. And the one thing the British were very, very good at was standing up for ourselves. And we have a long history in being a strong military, it was lots of great things about being Great Britain. And sadly, our country is not in a good place right now at all. And then you have other people coming into this country who don't have women's rights or women aren't seen as respected. And Sparky and I, we often agree on some things, we often don't agree on some things, but we always have the respect that each of us have our own opinion. But one thing we do very much agreed on was that we do not, you can't respect any religion that doesn't, that treats their women so badly or are second-class citizens in any shape or form. Because, at the end of the day, women are mothers, they're doing a full-time job, they're also, taking care of the family. They're running around after the husband, they're taking care of the home. Being a woman or being a mother or whatever is a full-time job, and they don't get the respect in some of these religions and cultures that they should do, and it's a shame. And even in my own culture as a British woman, I still see that women are still struggling to be given a lot more respect. It's almost like you see a woman go for a job in politics and it's like, oh, it's a woman. It's absolutely so a woman's got the job. And you're like, wow, what did you do? And she's out there in the old power suit and she's like, so, and you just think, good on you, girl. Like, whether I agree with you or not, good on with you. And that's why I kind of, with Margaret Thatcher, I remember looking back and thinking, that woman, she refused to be overshadowed, and she took no shit. And looking at some of the other ladies that made a difference as well in the world is obviously Florence Nightingale. I mean, literally, she was a woman who changed the face of taking care and from soldiers and wars, and she was amazing. Mother Teresa, although people are controversial about her. Indira Gandhi is another one, and I have Miss Rosa Parks, who, let's be honest, made such a big change. My little notes are here, and I'm looking at I'm trying to read this. Is it Maya Angelou? Turned pain into power, giving voice to experiences that had long been silenced. I mean, some of these women they're well known. They're famous women, but it's also the women that are quiet. I mean, some people will put Greta Thunberg on that list. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about Greta Thunberg. And
I understand as to how she feels in regards to the world, that we've only got one world and we should probably look after it.
Yeah. And I agree with that. Just something about her that, I don't know, for me, there's something there I'm not sure about. But what I would say is any woman that's out there kicking ass, trying to make a difference, for the generations to come. And that's why we began Wicked Women. Wicked Women was going to be a space for women, a podcast by women for women, where men could come in and join and we could learn from each other. It wasn't going to be and isn't political, and you can be who you are without someone going, really, and judging you for it, because it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to judge someone and say, you shouldn't do that, or, you know, and we didn't want to do that. But we also have to look at the way the world is today. And you know, as a British woman, and when I lived in Canada, England was still seen as this amazing country. You know, it was like home of
gold.
Harry Potter, David Beckham, you know, all things like this. And now I kind of feel like this.
Okay, yeah.
You know, my country is not in a good state as well. And I think women, you know, the more women that stand up and take their place and fight, the better. And I've got some notes here which I want to look at, because we just had one of the head roles in the Church of England is the Archbishop of Canterbury. And now people probably know someone like Cardinal Wolsey was the Archbishop of Canterbury. You know, he was a very famous one. They've always been men.
Yes.
But now we have a woman. A woman has finally been made Archbishop of Canterbury, which
took him long enough.
I know. It's absolutely awesome, because finally a woman is, because there's all, I mean, you know, I like a bit of conspiracy theory with the next one, but there's always the story that Jesus married. He had Mary Magdalene was his wife. They even took her bit of the Bible out, and also they had children, particularly a daughter. And yet, all the church throughout time has been men, right? But now we have got a woman as the Archbishop of Canterbury, and that's just awesome. And I wonder what kind of role that's going to bring, having a woman at the head of the English church. I wonder how that's going to change things.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be quite interesting as well. Sort of linking back into Queen Elizabeth II as well, because both with her and Charles, so obviously with the Archbishop of Canterbury and a bishopess, possibly, of Canterbury. At this point, I'm not sure. it's a new thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But it will be very interesting to see how they work together or work opposite each other, for example.
I mean, I know Prince William and Catherine went, you know, to see when she was ordained. Will we ever see a female pope? I don't think so. I don't think we will ever see a female pope. No. And I think, you know, looking at some of my notes here, it says in certain religions, the message has always been clear. A woman can be honored, but she's not authority. She could be respected, but she's not the decision maker. And she might be central to the home, but she's rarely the one standing at the front holding power. In some interpretations of Islam, a woman cannot lead mixed gender prayer. I mean, that blows my mind. That blows my mind. And her testimony may be weighed differently. In parts of Christianity, women were barred for centuries from positions of leadership. They were told they could not preach, they could not teach men, and they could not hold authority in the church.
That's also why the Vicar of Dibley was such a huge thing when that came out.
Huge, absolutely, because Dawn French kicked ass.
Absolutely.
And I think I question the fact that these books were written by men. You know, both of the two main religions that people argue and fight about now were written about men. And I think over time, women have paid the price in a lot of religion, the witch trials, being stoned, not having a say. I mean, the witch trials were not just hysteria or superstition. They were brutal enforcement of control. They didn't have a woman standing up for them like a lawyer going, no, that's not right. You can't do that. They had men who were, abusing them. I mean, some of the things they did in those witch trials, I even brought up that when we did it, they had Matthew Hopkins, who was the witch finder general. He used to have a long piece of wood with a nail on it, and you could press it and it would go down, or whatever, and he would say there's the mark. I mean, this would have been the mark of the devil. It doesn't matter. But a woman who knew too much was dangerous. A woman who spoke too loudly, suspicious. A woman who lived independently on her own was seen as a threat. So she was silenced, and in history, burned, drowned, erased. And the message was always clear: stay within the line, don't come over it, or you pay the price. Well, centuries might have passed, Sparky, and there might not be burning at the stakes, thank God, but the echoes remain, because women are still navigating systems and religions and cultures that are not designed for them. They are fighting for positions that they're not included in. You're not included because you're a woman. They step into spaces where authority, if it's a man, it's okay, but if it's a woman saying it, it's completely different.
It always comes with almost like the right of a challenge if it comes from a woman. No.
Yeah. No, 100%. And also it's almost like you see these movies, like, so the devil, is it The Devil Wears Prada?
Devil Wears Prada.
Meryl Streep, and she's this amazing, powerful woman, and everyone's like, oh, she's a bitch. She's a bitch because she doesn't take any shit, and she knows what she wants, and she's like, boom, boom, boom. If you had a guy doing that, completely different.
Yeah. Oh, he's a CEO. He's this is what he's supposed to do. He's just showing his power. That kind of thing.
And as I said, this is not why we love men. Men are wonderful creatures, and this is certainly not anti-men. What it is the fact that today in 2026, I was saying to Sparky, and I'm going to use this example. I was looking through the window the other day, and there was a lady coming up. She was a Muslim lady, and she was pregnant, about 6-7 months. Poor lady, big bump. And she had 3 carrier bags here, and she had 2 on this side. And not one person, as she walked past, not one person said, can I give you a hand? Like, can I help you? I remember the days where men did actually say that. Can I give you a hand? Would you like a hand? And I think a lot of men are frightened to ask now, because if they ask, it can be seen as the wrong thing to do. But I felt for her, because I felt like, wow, where is your husband? Where is your man in your life who's going, listen, you're pregnant. Don't you dare carry 5 bags of shopping and a baby. I will look after you. And some do and some don't. And the same as with women from other cultures and etc. My sister had children, and she did everything on her own. She did shopping on her own, taking care of the home. She was married, but she was a single parent, and carrying the load on her own. And her children, I think, have grown up better, and far more, in some ways, educated and better,
respectful of others.
Better boyfriends and better future husbands, because of seeing what their mom went through. And I think it's really important that as women, we always question the place we're given. We must always stand up and not let religion, history, culture, or modern debate take our role. We have to stand up for ourselves and others, and put our voice out there, and never be frightened to use that voice, because there is a fear these days, Sparky. There is a fear of us talking that we're going to get shut down, or some, You can't say that, you can't do that. You know, at the end of the day, as long as you talk with respect, you should be able to allow your point of view.
Which, to be fair, thinking about it, is probably why I use so many fillers in everything that I say. And especially at the end of something, if it's something where it could be seen as something that I probably shouldn't say, unless I'm saying it with the utmost confidence or without caring if I upset someone. 9 times out of 10, I will finish my sentence with, if that makes sense. Which gives, and I hate it because it gives the other person within the conversation the power to tell me that I'm wrong. And I hate that.
It shouldn't be that way, because you should be allowed. They say we have freedom of speech. I'd say we have a little bit. But I think, you know, you should be able to say your thoughts and feelings, and stand in your power, whether that's as a woman, you know, non-binary, trans, male, whatever. You should be able to say how you feel and stand in your power. When you become derogatory and bring someone else down, or cruel or vindictive, and that's a different story. But I think we're still trying to get our voices heard, and the story of women and power is not finished. It's still being written by all of us, by the women that are still out there. And when we're long gone, and maybe this is watched or whatever, you know, women are capable. We are worthy. We are building and changing lives every day as we speak. A lot of us are. There are also a lot of women that are not getting that opportunity, not getting that power, not having their voices heard. And women like us have to stand up for those women who are not getting that voice. And
those who don't have the confidence to be able to give themselves that voice as well.
Yeah.
Because of being shouted down for all of their lives. I mean, you know, you've got kids who still to this day are told, no, you should be seen, not heard. Especially the girls, young girls who are told, you can't do this because you're a girl. And I still maintain that.
But don't you, I mean, you and I were talking earlier on, was that, you know, I as a counsellor, I worked in a domestic violence and rape centre. And I discovered that in Wimbledon alone, there is, like, every single hour of the day, there's something going on there. And I used to counsel women who were had been in a domestic violence relationship, and I would have to check my car when I went outside at night, and I would have to check it underneath it so it hadn't been tampered with. Some of the stories I heard, I will never ever forget of what I've heard. And then I got into a relationship, not looking to get into one, like you never do. I got into one, and I didn't know I was actually in one until some time had gone past, and then the other shoe kind of dropped. And I think, you know, you can't say, well, that she was wearing a skirt too short. She asked for it, or she was wearing, I mean, yeah, it may not. I must admit, you know, I did wear a skirt years ago that was quite short, but I always made sure there was something underneath, absolutely, that you were protected with. But I think, you know, as a woman, we're definitely living in a world where it isn't such a safe space anymore. We do have to watch out. We have to watch out for each other. We have to take some more secure questions about, is this the kind of world I want to live in, or is this a world I want to change so I live in a better world? And I think very much we need to do that. And for me, it's like I don't quite know, as a woman, because I didn't have children, because I couldn't have them, but I didn't have children. What was my role? I was a wife, but I wasn't a mother. And I remember being told by my ex-violent partner, well, obviously, God didn't think you were worthy. That's why you've not been blessed.
Oh, what a bore.
And I remember thinking at the time, and I actually I remember at the time picking up the nearest ashtray and smashing it, just it was either that or, and you look back and you go, how did I allow myself to put up with that? How did I do that? And it's because there was this stupid voice in my head going, yeah, but he doesn't really mean it, or you love him or whatever. Where did this come from? Like, why?
And then it's also that side of it where you don't notice it happening, but it's created as it is the narcissistic abuse where you're nothing without me. No one will ever love you like I do. And that's the thing, the fact that you and I have both been told exactly the same thing from two different people at two different times. But that is the way that they control us. And it's absolutely horrific because it's not so much at the time you don't necessarily see it. You see it as, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You love me so much, and I appreciate that. This is fantastic with how much you love me, and you tell me that you love me, but with the backhand of no one else will love you in the way that I do. Which is almost like a veil of a threat.
No one will put up with you like I do. That was one of the classic ones, and the other one was, how many times have we heard this from men? If you love me, you'll do this.
If you love me, you'll do this for me. No, if you love yourself, you'll get off your ass and go and do it yourself.
Yeah, if you love me, you'll do this for me, and you're just like, I think there's so much. Women need
it's that handing power. It's handing that sentence hands your power over to them, and they go, "Thank you very much. I'm going to take that, and I'm just going to shove that in my back pocket." And that's another. It's like when you stick with me. It's like when you slice a piece of cheese and you give it to someone, right? Yeah. You can't get that piece of cheese back and attach it onto the cheese block because they've already eaten it.
Yeah.
That's the way that my brain sees it, because obviously I'm a very visual kind of person and it makes sense to me. Okay.
No, good point. And I hear you. I mean, I do. I mean, I look back at pictures of me. I found some the other day. I was looking back at pictures of me at that time, and I looked fabulous. I had such low self-esteem. I thought I was ugly, and I thought when he was out sleeping with other women, it was because, well, maybe I wasn't great in bed, or maybe I was a terrible girlfriend, or maybe, what the fuck was wrong with me? Because now I'd slap him silly. Won't slap him silly, but now I'd slap myself silly and go, come on, Wendy, wake up, smell the roses. But back then, different times, different people. And, we're changing so much as time is going on. But you can't also change the generation you're from, because we come from, as that picture I showed earlier on, all the different generations. We are all of those women. All of those women live in us. And I found that very interesting where they say your grandmother carried your mother, carried you. So that trauma that your grandmother and your great-grandmother felt, your mother felt, and then it was passed down into you. So you still carry that trauma. Interesting point.
Absolutely. If they could have kept it, that would have been fantastic, and I would have really appreciated it.
I'm great. I have to totally agree. If they could have just kept that back then, I would have been like, Nan, I'm all right for that. I don't need to have them.
I appreciate your wish and your want and your desire to share, but no thank you.
Yes. I also think as well that, just bringing up, you brought up Jack the Ripper earlier on, and interesting story that would be. But those women were cast as prostitutes, but some of them were not prostitutes. They were women that had no home. I can't remember her name off by heart, but she lost her husband. He died. She was at work. She worked, and then she lost her job, and no job, no money. End of the day, she's out. She's out, and unfortunately, she found in the wrong place at the wrong time. Women are still fighting to be heard, and still fighting to be taken seriously, as I said. And we're still navigating a world where our safety, respect, and even being in authority are not always guaranteed. As women, we should be supporting each other. We should not be bringing each other down. We should be supporting, because it's taken us bloody years to even get as far as we are now. And we should be supporting each other, because being a woman is not just an identity. It is, like everybody, a lived experience that is shaped over time. It changes you. It also changes how the world sees you, how the world treats you, how the world limits you, and how sometimes, even fears you. Worlds are changing. The world is changing. Conversations are evolving. People's opinions are changing. But one thing we must never do is go back into the dark ages of where women are persecuted for A, wearing a short skirt, B, being outspoken, B, being in a position of power, and B, being in a culture or religion where they're not seen as important, because they are important.
And having an opinion. Whether it's a differentiating opinion or the same one. If you had an opinion, that was wrong. Either way.
I mean,
crazy.
That is a good point, because women must never be asked to step back again, to keep quiet or give up space, because they've been fighting for centuries to be seen as individual. And it's not about, so you burnt your bra and you wanted to be seen as equals and individuals. No, we're not saying that. If we're confident in ourselves as women, we don't mind you. It's lovely to have a gentleman open the car door. It's lovely for a gentleman to say, excuse me, or whatever like that. There's nothing wrong with manners. Manners is absolutely amazing.
Manners maketh man.
We can still open the door for ourselves, but if you want to do it, that's amazing. But there's nothing wrong with us. We'll open the door for you as well. But then men don't know. This is a whole new podcast, but men don't know their identity anymore, because they can't do this, they can't say this. I mean, I don't know about you, Sparky, but I used to walk down the road, and if one of the painters down the road would wolf whistle me, I'd be like, I still got it, right? Because I thought my bum was too big, but obviously not.
But then with that, within the same way that walking home, if you get wolf whistled, that could be precursor to a problem that appears. So I think the wolf whistling is more a case of, I don't know what you're going to end up doing when you wolf whistle. Are you going to pursue me after this? Or are you not? So that's where the wolf whistle is like, yeah, okay, I get it. Amazing. I feel appreciated. But I also don't want to say, oh, hey, thanks. And then they go, oh, sweet, I'm going to follow you home now because you've given me a yes.
Yes.
So there is that concern these days.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Because I used to think, wolf whistle is fine. The comments something else. Because, I mean, not being funny, like, even I see Mark these days and I'm like, look at you, Mark. And he's like, oh, babe, I still got it.
Well, that's also because we know each other.
Sure.
We know each other's intentions.
It's a difficult one. When you strip everything back, all the noise, all the debate, what's left is the truth that women have always known. Nothing about being a woman is actually simple. It's been shaped. We have been shaped. I'll rephrase that. We have been shaped by history. We have been shaped by expectation. we've carried more than we've been given credit for. We've held families together, relationships, held the line. And like where Dwayne is a men's champion for men, where he does like the remarkable man, we need to be the remarkable women. We need to start that. The remarkable women. Women have been doubted, dismissed, controlled, and we're still here fighting the good fight because we've endured, baby. We're coming back again and again. Women did not stumble into their place. They bloody fought for it in this world. And I do think that I need to be following down Dwayne's road and start doing the Remarkable Women program, because I actually think we need that. Women need to learn how to be remarkable, because a lot of us don't know how to be that strong woman and to be in our power and to be able to be comfortable to say that. The story's not over, not even close. And there's a lot of things we could say. We're not allowed to say some things, but there are a lot of things that we could say. And I think you guys can read in between the lines of some of the things that we've talked about tonight, and be interested to see what your thoughts and opinions are. And because at the end of the day, we're always intrigued by what people think of the stories that we're talking about. And as I say, if it helps one woman or one person watching from this, then we've made a difference. So thank you so much for watching us tonight. Sparky, it's interesting to having you back, and it's a very good subject to have you back for, because you don't sit on one side of the fence. You're a little bit of that, a little bit of that. And that's really cool, because you bring in lots of different perspectives.
For me, I've always had a very open mind, and because I'm a very open person in myself and I don't like to conform, I see things from many different angles, and it's quite interesting, intriguing, difficult at times to create a concise answer with my very different opinions that circle around. But it's been enjoyable, definitely.
I think it's also I'm a great advocate for women, and as I've got older, I've become more of an advocate. And I've worked in my line as a counsellor, I've worked in all kinds of places: prison, probation, as I say, domestic violence. I've done murder, I've done rape, I've done all kinds. And I've seen a lot of incredibly strong women that have had to go through hell and back. And they are all awesome. And I carry their story with me. And, you know, one woman in particular, I still have her notes somewhere. I will never forget her. And I only counselled her for a short time before she moved on. But something about her stayed with me. And I think that from Boudica's flame of standing up for what is wrong and fighting for what is right, as in the fact that, to women in the Second World War who got on uniforms and went and made planes and parts and kept the country going, were very, very important. Were very, very important. And I think that my mum is a awesome woman, and I'm in awe of her, because this is a lady that was born in, just before the war, went through a war. She knows what the doodle bugs were, and lived with the fear that if Hitler had conquered England, there was a nice tablet in that drawer that all three of them had one each. She grew up in the 50s, in the 60s, trying to find her place in a terrible marriage, 3 children, ill health, walk the streets. She's awesome. I look at my mum, and even though I don't agree with her with some things over time, if I'm half the woman she is, then I'm very, very blessed, and I see the struggle she's going through now. And as a woman, I will always stand up, and and champion another woman, we need to do that. We need to stop tearing ourselves down and champion each other, because it's far too easy to go blah, 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 where it's not always easy to do that, because there are some people out there that do make you want to just go, I don't like you very much. But I think at the end of the day, you know what, Sparky, I think, you know, you're quite right. It's not easy being a woman, is it? Let's be honest.
It's really not. It's really not.
No.
And that's the thing. Like, society sees me in that one light. And I just, yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, because I can walk down the road and I can be seen as a very particular person, of which I'm not. Yeah.
You do speak your mind, and a lot of guys have said to me, I find you intimidating, Wendy.
Oh God, yes.
And I really, and they're like, if you're my mate and you know me really well, then you know that underneath that strong exterior is a very vulnerable person, and very sort of you know, I'm very squidgy around the edges, and but it's like a lot of people have said, you know, you're too dominant, you're too it's my dog beating the cat up, you're too you know, you're intimidating. Huckle, come here. And I don't think I'm intimidating. Do you think I'm intimidating?
I don't think you are personally, but then I've had the same thing where people have looked at me and they've literally looked at me on, I had no idea as to what you were going to say when I came over to speak to you. And that could be anything from being at a convention to just being down the pub with my mates. Or even when I joined a new job, and 90% of the people were intimidated by me. And I look at them and I'm like, why? I genuinely don't know why. But also, I'm one of these people who will not take bullshit from people. And I won't. And because I speak up for myself and I advocate for myself, I'm seen as intimidating. And if I have to be seen as intimidating in order for me not to take an advantage of, then absolutely I will be intimidating. I don't care.
And I think we have to be we have to stand in our power. Certainly when I got the Impala, you know, life changed for me, because it was like, well, that's not your car. It's your dad, you know. And I'm like, actually, it is my car. And you know, seeing people's judgment of the factors, you know, and I've learned, having the Impala has been such a great life lesson for me. You know, I feel very humbled by the people that I've been a small part of their story. And when Shirley said to me, Shirley, who owns, you know, Vlad the Impala, Shirley said, you inspired me to get an Impala. Not to take your work, Wendy, or anything, but literally you inspired me to get one. And I said, I think there's more women that should have muscle cars, and you know, and I'm all for that. But I remember feeling that it's a lovely compliment that, you know, I inspired someone, and I think that we need to be more like that. But certainly I think I'm still learning, I'm still growing. I'm only halfway through, hopefully, my story. Hopefully I've got some more years to carry on learning. But I tell you what, one thing I'm learning very, very quickly is I don't do bullshit. I won't have bullshit. And I certainly don't do lying. I do not like anything like that. That's something that I'm like.
And I think that's quite good as well, because you and I are very similar in that respect, which is why the conversations that we have are very... It's one of those where if other people watched our conversations, they would go, do you two like each other? Yeah. Is this like, are you okay? Yes, we're absolutely fine. But the conversations that we have are not cut and dry as such, but we know what each other, we know each other's intention with what it is that we say.
And we're very different. I mean, that's the other thing. We're very, very different. You know, we you know, and you can't just put everyone in a box and say just because they do this or they think that they're exactly that type of person, because we're all different. You know, we're all different kinds of moods and opinions and shapes and colors and everything. But I've always said, like, even when Sparky and I disagree and we see things differently, I have to say, you know, we see this differently, but we don't fall out over it. And I think it's very important that you have an opinion, even if you don't see eye to eye. You don't think, well, they're a terrible person because of it, because that's not how it should be. We are given a brain for a reason, which is to make our own decisions and our own thoughts, and to question. And what works for one doesn't always work for another. But you are amazing, Sparky. I mean, I've seen the change in you in a year, you know, coming up to a year, like in September. And you've definitely gone through lots of changes, and you see your confidence is definitely starting to grow. And I see a whole new woman blooming over there.
I appreciate that. And that is something that I have been focusing on a lot since January, is my confidence, and more than just confidence, but my self-confidence and the belief in myself that actually what I have wanted to do for my entire life, I am capable of doing, and there is no reason that I can't do it. And yeah, I love that. And I genuinely do think as well, a big part of that is because of us connecting in August, because I think it was one of those where I saw someone who was in their power, confident in themselves, and gave no shit about what anyone else said about her. And for that, it's been incredible. It really has, because I've actually met someone who has shown me that I can be a badass bitch if I want to. I can. And screw anyone who says anything about that. So I genuinely do think that us meeting in August, and it was supposed to happen. We've both said we were supposed to meet each other at some point, and I'm glad that it did happen properly in August.
Absolutely, because, like, you know, when I met you at the Comic-Con, Mark was there, and we just, you know, I'd never met Sparky before, and it was like we'd known each other for years, and it was the end of the day, and she's like, oh, I've got to get home, and I've got to get the bloody train, and I think I'm getting tomorrow. And I was like, just take my car. Just take my car. And Mark's like, you've just given your car to a complete stranger. And I was like, she'll be back. She'll be back. And she was. Next, I didn't care. I mean, God, I had the Impala to drive if I had to, but literally, yeah, you did. And it was, I think you meet people in life for whatever reason at whatever times. You don't always see eye to eye sometimes, but it's all about relationships and friendships. It's all about growing, and you learn from each other, you grow from each other. You don't always see eye to eye, you don't always agree, but that even your differences can encourage a relationship to be like, you know, Thelma meat eater and you're not, like, just because you don't eat meat and I do, using that as an example doesn't, you know, we can still have an amazing friendship. And I've seen you grow so much, and thank you for that. You know, I mean, I think I was thinking today, like, my mum's been a massive influence in my life. You know, my nan was kick ass. I mean, you won't want to upset my nan, let me put it that way. She'd kick your ass from one side of the room to the other. My mum, you know, absolutely awesome. But I think I've met some amazing women along the way who have had such an effect on me and changed me for the better. And going to Canada and mixing with a lot of wonderful Canadian women who helped me chip away that shy girl with not, you know, help me chip away and become probably who I am now. So I think we are all like those women in that, you know, the 1800s, the 1900s, 1920s. We are all those women. And I wonder what, when I pass and go away, there's nothing left of me, because I'm just, you know, I don't have any children, but I hope that my nieces will carry on the story. That and they certainly are in a different world, a different time, and I look at them sometimes and I go, I really can't identify with you anymore, right? I just can't, you know. But having said that, I don't have to. It's their story, it's their road, right?
I mean, with that, you've already had an impact on me.
Bless you.
Already. And I know at some point I am going to have an impact on someone else, because I'm not going to have kids myself. I know that, but that's my choice. But through you having an impact on me, I will have an impact on someone else. They will have an impact on someone else. So as much as we won't be around, our impact and our influence will continue to influence others, even when we're not here.
The journey continues.
Exactly.
I think
it doesn't have to be by blood.
That's a wonderful thing to say, because thank you. And I take that on board. What a lovely thing to say. But it's true, because I lost a lady when I was 28. I lost a very good friend of mine, Denise. She died of cancer. And I was with her when she passed over. I wasn't very girly. That woman turned me into some of the women you see today, you know, boobs out, lipstick, earrings, etc. And, you know, Denise, we used to call her Lulu. She was amazing. She fought cancer. She was in a violent relationship. She brought a son up on her own. He was 9 when she sadly died, and I'm really good friends with him, bless him. And she'd be so proud of him. But her story still lives on in me. I still talk about her. We still pass the thing down. We need to pass down the story of the women, and the strong women, and pass down. And we pass down, and we will be remembered. We may not have had children, but people will watch this maybe in 10 years' time, maybe whenever, and I go, do you remember Wicked Women? You know, whenever it will. We are a very small part of someone else's journey, and as I said, you know, you've grown, I'm growing. I mean, who'd have thought I'd ever have my own, you know, my own podcast? I mean, if it hadn't been for Mark kicking my ass, saying, woman, let's do a podcast together, I was like, oh. And you can actually see, if you go back to Strangely Us and you watch the first couple of episodes, I'm so nervous, and Mark's like, he's just like the king of it, you know. He's so cool. And then as time's gone along, it does get easier, and who knows where I'll be in 10 years. So thank you so much. I'm blessed by you in my life, and thank you for, you've helped me through some dark times, and you know, that's what we're here for. And we hope just by listening to us tonight, you've all learned something, you've all passed on the story, and keep the chain going. Because sadly, in 2026, it is still seen in so many ways that being a female is a sin. Now, looking at some of the shows that are coming up in the following weeks, I'm going to bring them up. And next week, we have a really lovely show, which I'm looking forward to doing. It's quite important to me. It's called This Country, My Dog. And a lot of people have seen in the newspapers in USA and in the UK and on news and everything, how dogs have always been man and women's best friend. That seems to be changing how people view it. And we mustn't let that happen. But that's next week, This Country, My Dog. Then the following week after that, on the 10th of May, we have the lovely Charlie Hall with me, of co-host of Haunt Me If You Can. She's a clairvoyant. She's absolutely fantastic. And actually, I haven't actually put the promo up for this, but on the 17th, I believe we have my friend Joe Kane coming on with his book about, he was a paramedic on the streets of London for many, many years, and some of the things he went through. He wrote a book about it, of which I'm in, which is so cool.
Oh, no way.
So he's fascinating to listen to. And then we have later on in the month, which is When the Mind Fills the Silence, which is about when you're looking after a parent who either has Charles Bonnet or dementia. So that's going to be quite a difficult show, but also a show that I think we should do. So that's what's coming up in the month of May. Please stay with us. Join us, be a part of it. We look at all your comments, we take it all on board. And you know, I have no idea when Val is coming back, because I spoke to Val the other day and she's still struggling. Health-wise, and send her lots of healing thoughts to her, please. and she'll be back when she's back. But in the meantime, the Wicked story goes on. I'm sure Sparky will join me when she can. And other times you'll just have to put up with me.
Right. I mean, you're clearly very capable anyway, so you don't really need me.
Oh, do you know what? I love how we bounce off each other, and I think it's good to have that different opinion as well. Very, very different opinion. So, what about you, Sparky? What have you got coming up for you?
Oh well, in a couple of weeks' time, I'm actually coming up to see you. So that would be rather nice. I'm looking forward to that.
The Impala, yes.
Indeed. And, I might possibly be able to get into the driver's seat.
Yes, I have promised you to teach you how to drive. And not that you'll need much, you'll be off in no time.
So I'm ridiculously excited about that. Yes.
Ruth and then going to send a picture up now because I absolutely can. Here she is.
Look at her. Gorgeous. Beautiful. But yeah, and I went out and had some headshots done today. So yes, progress finally. And with that, I will be able to update all of my personal website, my all of my agency stuff and all of that, make sure that I've got up-to-date headshots so that I can actually apply and I actually look like I'm supposed to look, because the last time I had professional headshots done was 10 years ago.
And I think once you get in the mindset and you're like, this is what I want to do, then the universe sometimes, will go, okay, well, let's put you on that road. So I think having the headshots is a good thing to do. And you've got a new car, woman.
Yes, that is something that has happened since I was last on. Yes, I have a new car. I have a Jeep.
So cool. When she showed it to me, I was like, cool.
I love her so much. I really do. Her name is Missy. Missy, indeed.
Missy.
And yeah, I've always wanted a Jeep. Always wanted a Jeep. And the opportunity came up and I went, you know what? Am I going to have this opportunity again? Maybe, but I need something that I know is going to run, that's going to survive. And if a Jeep is going to survive,
And it suits you. I mean, I remember like she said to me, I mean, I actually haven't got a name for the car that I drive. I actually don't have a name for the one I've got, but I do have, obviously the Huntress is the Impala. And it's really weird how she's known, just talk amongst yourselves here, it's Impala talk, but she's known as the Huntress. This year's been so incredibly busy. Like I have had so many weddings and proms and stuff coming in, and it's just like, wow, we're in the winter time as well, which has been absolutely amazing. And for me, it's like, I never look at her when I open the garage door and I see her. I always think, oh my God, I am so incredibly, incredibly lucky to be all on my own. And yet I never take it for granted. And she's going to be 60 next year, baby. 60.
Dang. Oh, that's a good point. Oh, blimey. There's going to be a lot of celebrations going on everywhere for that, really, isn't there?
60. I mean, this, I saw a lot of this being posted this week. See,
yeah,
a lot of people were putting this up because, my one actually came out December 67, so she's a Christmas baby. But yeah, so I mean, I could talk about it till the cows come home, but that's another show. But thank you so much for joining us tonight, Sparky.
Thank you for having me.
Please come back and join us. And next time I promise to have the promo up with the bulldog. It looks really amazing.
I was looking forward to it. I'm sorely disappointed.
I cannot believe. I'm going to see if I can do this before I leave. Let's thank you, Steve. I'm just bringing up some of the comments here. Thank you, Steve, so much for joining us. I need to see the pictures that you got the picture, because I actually sent something to Steve. So He knows what I'm talking about. Thank you, Carly. Looking forward to the book, Rapid. Thanks so much for joining us. For all of those that are watching us, don't have to join us on here. Doesn't matter when you watch us. We hope you've enjoyed a bit of Wicked. We are back every Sunday at 9 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Mountain. Let me remember this. 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. I think I've done that right. We will be here next week. Oh, he did get it. Thank you, Steve, for letting me know.
4 Eastern, I think.
Is it? It's 4 Central, isn't it? And 5 Eastern. I'm sure that's the time. Where's my music?
I thought Eastern was -5. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, whenever you're watching it. Whenever.
You know what? Easiest way about it, click the bell. Then you get notified when we go live.
Like, share. I haven't even done this today. I'm so enjoyed like chatting away here today. Look, let's put it up. Look, like, share, and subscribe.
Indeed.
We are, you know, and also if there's any subjects you want us to talk about, please let us know. We're more than happy to do it, and we'll all do them as respectful as we can. Well, it has just gone 10 past 11 here at night in London, and we will say good night. Sparky, time for bed.
Oh yes, thank you. It is required.
You look fabulous. Mwah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, darling.
See everybody next week. Sparky may be here, she may be not, but we'll have another great show for you. I think anyone who loves dogs should definitely watch the show next week. And have a great week. Take care of yourselves and each other. Good night, guys.